Hello. This is a spring Equinox 2021 food forest garden walkthrough. We're here in Central Virginia. So this is our food forest. Got mulberry trees on the right, black locust, nitrifiers. Got some bush cherries that have been struggling, may not make it. Got a few radishes in there. A little comfrey over there. This is the oldest one. This is about 4 years old here. Grapevines, blackberries, blueberries, figs, more grapes, some wild mint down there with the stalks. You can see the wild violets coming in, very prolific, edible. Some raspberries right here. Here's the newer swales that we put in to kind of connect these two. We've had a lot of water issues. Here's one of our swales. Let's put this pipe in to help alleviate some of that water. We'll see how that works. Some prunus trees, apricots, plums, more blackberries. Walking over another new swale. It's a giant red mustard. It's kind of naturalized here. Just getting a few buds. I don't know if it's a plum or an apricot, but down here, black locust again, interplanted with hazelnut. And down here's a few pears, and that weeping willow there. I had just trimmed off some little small pieces of wood there, and I just stuck them in the ground, and there's my little willows growing right out of the ground. I had put some grapes and some apple cuttings in there. They didn't take, but I just gave it a shot. You can see the weeds have really taken over. Got dead nettle, purple dead nettle, wild onion. You can tell it's wild onion because it has a round leaf, not a flat leaf. I got some yellow dock in there, which I don't want. There's a carpet of chickweed, as you can see, just everywhere. So quite a bit of this is edible. And right here's where we just dug up some clumps of wild violet, just threw them down here, see if they would take. Looks like some of them lived. I noticed that the yellow dock really likes the watery spots. Doesn't choke it out in the least. So this was my oldest part of the garden. Now here's some overwintered Chinese mustards. They call it Chinese cabbage. A couple of different kinds. I forgot tatsoi and something else. Hoping it might naturalize. But we had a total failure on that swale there. You can see where it's just washed down. A lot of my fertility just leaving the garden. This used to be all dry Virginia pasture. We have turned it into a marsh. The marsh down at the low part's always been there, but all this up here, kind of a new environment. See, it's pretty lush, a lot of fertility. a little bit of wild sunflower, artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke, sunchokes. Those were just, they came out of these beds, just a few little pieces of root that I had missed, so they came up on their own there. I have miner's lettuce planted in here, and I've seen it coming up. But we're obviously going to need some more dirt on this mound here, because it's just washing out on me. But again, we put this tube in, trying to get rid of some excess water. Pretty wet. You can see the Egyptian walking onions coming up. We just planted those in late fall. There's garlic here. Can't see my kale, and Swiss chard is interplanted in there. Hopefully it'll come up. Didn't really harden them off. I just stuck them out here, so we'll see how they do. You can see a really nice patch of chamomile. I had to fill that in. The cows had gotten in the garden and they had to stomp through everything and wiped everything out. I've got some apples in there. Some more of the wild apricot, wild plum. Some thornless blackberries. And I believe that's a Juneberry in there. See all the garlic. A lot of water still. Been a few days. Back up a little. Nasty water, what a mess. Three different varieties of peaches here. A lot of them are budding. It's going to be nice. We'll see if they get frozen again. We had that really late frost last year, killed a lot of stuff. So more radishes, strawberries. There's a bunch of Osage orange I need to get transplanted. A living barbed wire fence. Again, more locust at the top left there. You can see the chickweed is really quite a good living mulch. And you got some of that dead nettle in there. There's some pretty poor soil here. Be addressing that. There's an apple. Strawberries. Sage. There's quite a few Egyptian walking onions here. This is where I started it. Just a few plants. There's solar setup. I'll show you later. So we'll be putting in raised beds here. I'm going to just get some logs out of the forest. I'm going to make some more of those little hoops over these. In the winter, I'm going to try to grow this whole section. Little cold frames. Little mini hoop houses, whatever you want to call them. Pretty wet still. I had put various types of kale in there. Didn't get a whole lot of good response from it. Here's a couple of really nice pears. So there's some more Chinese mustard, Chinese cabbage. You can see the kale, Russian red kale, and I think that's Premier kale, perhaps. Blackberry. Juneberry, apple. There's the other side of that flooded mess. Oh, miner's lettuce left in that tray. Ugh. We'll see. It's pretty sunburned. Did not harden it off. We'll see if any of it survives. So this I'm going to plant out in the lettuce. There's a little bit of miner's lettuce right there. Should be kind of just scattered throughout this. You can see the cow footprints. I had spinach in here, and they got in here and wiped that all out. Been working on this bed a little. We had a lot of radishes in there, turnips. Now we just have kale, some yarrow, common yarrow. You can see the French sorrel. I've been working on this bed a little bit. Going to have most of the strawberries. Again, I did some walking out the garlic along the edge here. And this all over winter. This all this kale. See some of the peas starting to pop up. There's a hazelnut. It's a tough survivor. It's one of these wild prunus. So as I go up the hill, that's the newer and newer garden. That peach is pretty happy. There's a nectarine next to it. And again, all of that green is chickweed. Part of my strategy. More water. A little wild chicory, don't really want that in here anymore. A lot of dead nettle, garlic. That dock needs to go. There's some of my collards, onions. I think there's some cilantro in there as well, if it survived. Past the apple. More collards. I had these tubs sitting over it. I took them off. Collards will probably make it. The onions will make it. Those might be leeks. Here's a solid mass of chickweed and dead nettle. And I like it that way. It's all edible. It really keeps the weeds from getting in here. This bed is tilled up, put in some more raised beds up here. A red vein sorrel survivor right there. I have little amounts of it here and there. This is all leaf compost here. It's the top. I'm going to be working with that this year. Here's some of our landscaping hay. Cows had destroyed this little tree. Now you can see all my comfrey coming in. Quite a bunch of it. I'm going to be digging that up and planting it out where the animals can forage it. Got comfrey all the way down along here. And that's a blackberry patch. I have learned to put your blackberry patch on the outside of the garden and downhill. That way I will try to grow out of the garden instead of into the garden. That ditch is so wet it kind of cuts off those blue blackberries. They don't want to come this way, they want to go out, which is what I want. So yeah, we're just among all this comfrey. Looks kind of tiny now, but it'll take over. So we lost one of our covers, a little low tunnel here. Just going to show you what I got going on. Alright. So you're looking at some a little bit of everything. This is definitely a polyculture. We have chickweed, henbit, and this is henbit. This is dead nettle, purple dead nettle. These are edible. I don't like them raw much. Chickweed, I absolutely like raw. This is a little bit more ready to eat. Now, let me show you how to identify this thing. I can do this one-handed. A little tough. Let's do it with one on the plant. Yeah, all right, there you go. You see that? How that inner stem stretches. That's a really good way to identify chickweed. If you can see, I'm not sure, there's going to be alternating lines of hair on either side of each node. It's not hairy all over. That would be mouse hair chickweed. You don't want to eat that. This is just common chickweed. You can see it's getting ready to go to flower, so it's a good time to harvest it and eat it. This is a delicious wild edible that I grow in the garden on purpose. Henbit, edible, similar looking plant, purple dead nettle. There's a carrot. I have cilantro growing in here. Got some collards down that way. So this was overwintered. I would say it's pretty successful. There's a lot of food here with this chickweed. So I grow it on purpose. Looks like weeds have taken over my garden. But this one patch alone, it'll provide you a lot of food. I was out here a little bit earlier, picked a little chickweed. I like to make smoothies with it. It's a really good food. You make medicine out of it. So, oh yeah, my solar panel down there comes down here. Little wire. Little light. So give these beds a little extra help in the short days of winter. But I don't have any watering in here. These are just little low spots in between coming down the hill. I just catch the water. Mix it in. And it just wicks up in these beds. You can see there's moisture. I'll show you how I made these. This is my design for a galvanized tubing conduit. Very sturdy. Just use it for structure later for any kind of gardening. You just take the plastic off. You could put netting back on, shade cloth, insect netting, and make these clips out of irrigation pipe. They generally hold up until they don't. Anyway, they just clip on there. You can see I've done that on all those three. So my hope is to have these little beds just like these go all the way down to the path where there's a chicken in the garden. Naughty, naughty girl. Get her out. Then we'll continue to put beds all the way up there. So my epic fail is garden weeds have totally taken over. What a mess, right? Look at all those weeds. All food. People that drive by, walk by, don't even know they're looking at food. It obviously looks better in the low tunnel there. But in a few weeks, all of this will be edible. We could never eat it all. We feed it to our chickens, or I just leave it, let it die and turn into a mulch. When it gets hot, it'll die back. So eventually this will all be raised beds with the little low tunnel structure on there. There's some pipe I'm going to use to build them. So this is just kind of our natural dirt here now, just from the work we've been doing. If you're used to old Virginia red clay, we have it, just not here. A little bit of it. So, kind of an overview. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll let you know some of the mistakes I've made on this whole project. I learned some hard lessons, but I've had some good success too. So, well, this is WiggleCulture out for now. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.